Society. And still coming to you, Joseph Kariuki, I know you had some reservation, or you want us to, of course, address that. Yes, let's listen to you.
I just wanted to add on what you were saying.
Yes.
That globally, people have taken almost a similar way of handling issues of disability. You find that even in Kenya, at some point you used to look at disability as a charity thing.
Yes.
What we call the charity model, where we need to help these people, give them handouts and all that. Then from there now we started looking at the person with disability within the medical model, looking at that person like, yes, you are sick, we need to fix you, we need to fix your sickness. Then we have now evolved and looking at it now as a social model, that disability is not just a medical aspect, but we must look at socio-economically, how is this person doing? And finally now with us even putting everything in the Bill of Rights, now we are looking at it as a rights-based model, that whatever we are doing with this person is actually their right.
Right.
It's
not mercy, it's not charity.
It's not mercy, it's not charity. It's a right.
Right.
So, and I think that would be a very positive move.
Have they grown to that understanding? These persons, of course, is there that sensitization of them understanding that there are rights for them? Because most of them also would opt, and I think even with family members, sometimes, you know, if you have this person who, of course, is a person of disability in your very own family setup, sometimes they tend to be hidden by the very respective family members. And even when there's that clarion call for them to come on board so that they get to understand their rights, so that we have civic education in regards to the same. There's been that talk on board that probably they barely take part in such conversations, in such forums, so that at least they can also come out to speak on behalf of themselves. So in as much as the entire society could be willing to come out to ensure that, of course, all these rights are implemented, have they grown to that level? Have they gotten to that level where they understand what should be their rights and how they should actually demand and command for them?
Yeah, I think that's also that's a huge gap that most of them also have. I started by saying that we have our own attitudes towards people with disabilities. Sometimes also the people with disabilities have their own attitudes
towards themselves.
And at some point, some of them have given up because they've been called many times, come, there is this and this. Nothing happened, come, there is this and this. So sometimes they have given up. And I think that is where we need to go, that we need to say there is nothing for us without us. So that person with disability, you build their capacity to ensure that they actually go for their rights. As you rightly said, why are we still finding parents hiding children behind the bedrooms? Because a visitor has come and they don't want to be known there is a person with disabilities. I have, in my years of interacting with people with disabilities, I have had a parent tell me, when we meet, they tell me, mtoto wako ako sawa. So you are kid, because I was used to handling that child, so the parents start seeing that child as my. I have met parents who say, can the government take these children and take them for rehabilitation somewhere? So, I mean, we must also try to change their thinking, including the persons with disabilities themselves. Because I also keep saying that there is the unity amongst especially civil societies and groups of and for persons with disabilities, the unity is a bit shaky. So I think they need to be built in terms of their capacity and then get united and fight as a force, just like the good ladies of this country are doing.
In your very own proposals, Joseph, what do you suppose then would be some of the things that we should ensure that we, you know, address towards ensuring that we get inclusivity and, you know, just have a strategy that is going to be well implemented and also bridge this gap and the discrimination that is hugely on board?
I think, first of all, like he said, sensitization. To just know that this condition is there and maybe there are interventions to help. And second is we should bring these parents together, for instance, the parents of patients with disability, to form support groups, so that whenever maybe a person is born or has a disability, these same people who have gone through this trauma or stigmatization, they can come together and talk to that person and tell them this is the reason why it is like this, and maybe if there are interventions that they can come and help them to get out of this situation.
All right. When we talk about disability, we certainly also look at other factors, key factors across. And this morning, though, I would also want us not to step out of this set before addressing the strong bidirectional link that is there between poverty and disability. How are we working towards ensuring that we get that balance as a society? Because then it's key. We say that, of course, in numerous occasions, we've seen poverty causing disability. Equally, on numerous occasions, we've seen disability causing poverty. Because if we fail to empower these persons with disabilities and we look at them as though, you know, that is just it and that is the end of their life, there's nothing they can do, then they cannot generally go out there and take part in the growth of the economy, in the growth of making the best of their very own family. So at some point, with their very own disability, they end up being poor. Mm-hmm. So bridging this gap and getting that balance is one thing that we'd want to address as a society. Do you suppose that we have made great strides as a government, as a society, towards ensuring that we get to address this bilateral or this bidirectional link that is there between the two?
Yeah, there are steps. There are quite some major steps that have been made. Mm-hmm. I know there are people with disabilities that are getting funding from the government, mm-hmm. either directly or through the national.
Has there been maximum, of course, that is mobilization of resources for the same?
The resources, I would say, will never be enough. That is one. Yeah. But I think we need more resources. Mm. I think what we have done is the resources we have given to us, that is quite little compared to the general population of people with disabilities. And as we said, the other ways that we can also, as you said, poverty causes disability. Yes. Disability also causes poverty. Now, yeah. When I look at a person with disability, I'll give an example of a person that uses appliances, for example. I'm using a wheelchair or crutches or calipers or whatever. Now, this person will have to keep changing those equipment. Mm-hmm. Now, supposing we anchor this in our insurances so that we ensure that we rid this burden of appliances from this client, so that the insurance now takes care of that. Now, we will not be pushing this person into further disability and poverty if you're able to, first of all, shoulder some of those things. Now, when it comes to the issue of of course, the people with disabilities is a vulnerable population. Now, how many of them are getting those grants from the government? Is a drop in the ocean. Yeah. We need to expand that bracket so that at least most of them, and also include even parents with children with disabilities. As it were now, I know people with disabilities are given tax exemptions. If I wanted to import, for example, a vehicle, I'm given a tax exemption. Mm-hmm. But if I'm a parent who has a child with disability, I am not entitled to that. I could be having a child who is 15 years or 20 years old, has a disability. I am the person that is taking care of this child. I've employed an extra house girl to take care of this child. So actually, we also need now to look at how can we also empower the parents of children with disabilities and put them in that bracket, including even exemption of taxes. Right. Because again, the way I am affected if I'm on a wheelchair is the same way this parent is affected. So I'm saying the other ways we can generally expand on the ways that we are tackling both disability and poverty, so that we break that gap, because it's a cycle. Yes. And if we don't break it, it just continues. It continues. So people will become poorer. The poorer will still continue becoming disabled because they are not accessing healthcare, they are not accessing appliances, they cannot be able to access good medical care to treat conditions that otherwise expose them to disability. So I think we really must do something to break that cycle. Yeah.